The 7950X 3D is here. We have 3D V-Cache on AM5. This is good news. We've been waiting for this video for a long time. I know I have. And it's really interesting to see how this performs. Is this now the best CPU for Star Citizen? What happens when you turn off the non-3D V-Cache chiplet and you just use the 3D V-Cache? You kind of turn it into a 7800X 3D. Lots of questions, lots of answers in this video. Let's get into it. Before we go any further, let's talk about the structure of these CPUs because it is important. I'll try and keep it simple and brief. If you look at this image, you'll see the structure for the 7900X 3D and the 7950X 3D is similar in that they've got two chiplets. One has got 3D V-Cache and one doesn't, shown by that kind of rainbow line there. If you then look at the 7800X 3D, it's just got one chiplet with 8 cores, but it's all got the 3D V-Cache. Now what you can do is you can turn off these chiplets in the BIOS, and that's what I've done. So as we go through this testing, I've got the 7950X 3D as it comes out the box, and then we've also turned off the non-3D V-Cache chiplet, and then also I've swapped it the other way around, so we've got just the non-3D V-Cache chiplet. So we've got basically a simulated version of this 7800X 3D, and then what effectively becomes a 7700X, which we've already tested, so we can compare those, and that doesn't quite go as you think actually. So that's the structure of the CPU, and it is important because this 3D V-Cache is crucial to Star Citizen performance. The test setup is in detail below, but the key things are we're on a 4080, 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM and 317.5. We're still on 317. Absolutely crazy. And the other thing that's important to note is that when you get a 7950X 3D or 7900X 3D, you need to install chipset drivers and also update BIOS, all that sort of stuff. You also need to open up and have running the game mode and also the Xbox game bar, because that basically helps the CPU to know, or Windows to know, if you're running a game or not, and that will affect which chiplet it uses. It's a bit janky and it doesn't work great in Star Citizen, as you're going to see. We've got Lorville to start off with, as always, tested loads and loads of runs, averaged out. You'll see here on this graph, I'll try and explain what's going on here because it's fairly complicated. The second result down at 90 FPS is what you get out of the box. Now that is good. That is an improvement over the 7700X, and it's an improvement over the 5800X 3D, as you kind of expect. But it's obviously the second result in this stack. You'll see at the top the 3D V-Cache CCD only. So this effectively is simulating a 7800X 3D. It is significantly faster. And so what's happening here is that when you use the out of the box, you just leave everything on, both CCDs are on. In theory, in games, using the Xbox game bar, the CPU should park the non-V-Cache CCD. It should say, forget that, leave that alone. I don't want to use that. I just want to use the 3D V-Cache CCD. In Star Citizen, it doesn't really work like that. It will still use the cores. Maybe because Star Citizen, it's not fully multi-threaded, but it is pretty well multi-threaded, and so it will use other threads. And so by default, it won't just stick to the 3D V-Cache CCD. So this kind of sets the pattern as this is going to go through. There is one result that actually changes it up. The third result, the 7950X 3D with just the non-3D V-Cache CCD, effectively becomes a 7700X, and as you can see, it performs basically the same. That again isn't consistent through these results. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but this Lorville example basically shows how it should all look. It is a good out of the box performance, as I said. Like, you're not going to complain about 90 FPS in Lorville. Look at that compared to the results that we used to get with like the 3600. Ryzen has come a long way, but you're effectively buying, to get the best out of this CPU, you're buying a $700 CPU and turning half of it off to get the best results, when a 7800X 3D is coming out in a month or so that will perform better for less money. So it's complicated, and For that reason, I'm not necessarily going to recommend this 7900 X3D. Let's keep going. Next up, ArtCorp doing the runs again here. You'll see that again, the 3D Vcache CCD is out on top. The 7800 X3D simulated version, that is winning again by quite a significant margin. And really, it's a bit disappointing for the out-of-the-box 7950 X3D here, because it's only beating the 7700X by 4 FPS. So not a great result for the 7950 X3D here. Quantum Travel next, and this result's really interesting because it really shows how the 3D Vcache dominates in Star Citizen. You'll see obviously at the top we've got the 3D Vcache CCD miles out front, and that is borderline bottlenecked by the GPU at 1080p. It's not quite, but it's pretty close. So you're seeing the kind of the upper range at 1080p of the 4080 there. The out of the box experience is good. It's a good result still. 165 FPS is not bad. But then when you turn just the non Vcache CCD on, you see there really how much that Vcache does make a big difference. It's a huge difference between the top result and the bottom result there. So again, the picture is kind of the same. Probably wait for that 7800 X3D. It's the same situation in space. The 3D Vcache really dominates in this scenario. The 7800 X3D simulated chip is way out in front, 204 FPS. But even the 5800 X3D, which is the same scenario, it's just got 8 cores, but it's all got the 3D Vcache, is really doing well, matching the 7950 X3D out of the box. Next, we're on to the Horizon rooftop scenario. This normally is a GPU test with the clouds, but on medium with the clouds at 1080p, the 4080 isn't being touched, so this is a CPU test. And you'll see here again, the 3D Vcache is coming to the fore. It's absolutely dominating the out-of-the-box experience, and then the non-Vcache CCD is matching the 7700X as you'd expect it to. All of these results though are quite good. They beat out the 5800 X3D by quite a lot, and yeah, you're not going to complain. But again, the 3D Vcache CCD on its own is way ahead. Next up, we've got this render scene test that I've been doing on Horizon. It's very CPU intensive, but in a slightly different way. You'll see here that we've got the first result where the out of the box 7950 X3D actually wins. I mean, it doesn't win, it's the same. But we've not got any benefit here really from the 3D Vcache, which we've seen in the past with the 5800 X3D being quite low down on this list, below the 12th and 13th gen Intel i7s. And so it seems as though this particular scene, looking out across Horizon, the 3D Vcache doesn't really do you any favors. So what to make of all this? Well, out of the box, this is a very, very good CPU for Star Citizen. It's pretty much the best that you can buy right now. We've not done any tweaking here. We've not done anything with the RAM or anything like that to squeeze out more performance that you probably could do, but it is a very, very high-end CPU for Star Citizen. But as we've seen, it's about to be replaced by the 7800 X3D, which is going to blow past it effectively from all the things we've seen. The 7800 X3D, the real one, will be clocked slightly slower, but I don't think it will make that much difference. I'm going to buy one, I'm going to put it head to head and show you how they perform. But yeah, it's a bit of a mad situation where AMD are just milking people, I think, to try and get the most money they can out of it before they release the best gaming CPU, the 7800 X3D, which costs less money. So the only people who I think this really would apply for are people who, well, one, don't play Star Citizen as the only game they play. I'm really only talking from a Star Citizen point of view. But also, if you're doing any sort of production work where you need those extra cores and you want to have a good balance of cores and gaming performance, then out of the box, it does perform really well. But if you are thinking from a purely gaming point of view, from a pure Star Citizen gaming point of view, you should just get the 7800 X3D when it comes out.